Sometimes you just need to walk. Not because you want to go somewhere, not because you're exploring, just because walking is easier than sitting still, because moving forward is easier than staying in one place with your thoughts. Today was one of those days. I didn't wake up feeling happy. I didn't wake up feeling sad either. I just woke up feeling nothing, empty, flat, like the colour had drained out of the world and everything was pink, or maybe red. So I decided to walk. I started at People's Square, the heart of Shanghai, the place where tourists take photos and lovers meet on weekends. But today, for me, it was just a starting point, a place to put one foot in front of the other and see where the city would take me. I walked down East Nanjing Road, the busiest pedestrian street in China, maybe even the world. Millions of people pass through here every year. Foreigners with cameras, couples holding hands, families with tired children, vendors selling everything from dumplings to souvenirs. But today, I didn't feel like I was part of them. I felt like I was watching them from behind a glass window, like I was a ghost walking through a city that was alive and full, and I was just there, existing. The street is always crowded, always loud, always moving. But today, the noise didn't bother me. It just blurred into the background. A hum. A rhythm. A heartbeat of a city that didn't know I was feeling empty. What I love about East Nanjing Road is that there are no cars, no taxis, no buses, just people walking, and a little electric train that transports people from one end to the other. It's small, quiet, cute in its own way, like a toy train that somehow carries real people with real lives. I watched the train pass by. People inside were laughing, pointing at things, taking photos, living their lives, and I thought, I used to be like that. I used to be the one laughing, the one pointing, the one living. But today, I was just walking. I passed by vendors selling food, skewers of meat, grilled corn, sweet potatoes. The smell filled the air, warm and inviting. But I wasn't hungry. I walked past them without stopping. I passed by a dragon breathing smoke. A giant red dragon, not a real one but a mechanical one, with smoke coming out of its mouth. Kids were gathered around it, giggling, taking photos with their parents. For them, it was magic. For me, it was just another thing to pass by. I stopped for a moment to watch the dragon. Its eyes glowed red, its mouth opened and closed. Smoke billowed out like steam from a kettle. And I thought, even a fake dragon breathes fire. Even a machine has more life than I feel right now. But I didn't cry. I just kept walking. The street stretched on, endless, full of people, full of noise, full of life. But I felt like I was walking through a dream where I was invisible, where no one could see me, where no one could hear me. I passed by a group of foreigners taking photos. They were laughing, pointing at the buildings, at the signs, at anything that looked unfamiliar to them. And I thought, that's how they see Shanghai, as something new, something exciting, something to capture. But I see Shanghai differently. I see it as home, as streets I've walked 1,000 times, as corners that hold memories, as places where I've been happy and sad and everything in between. Today, it was a place where I felt nothing. I kept walking. My feet moved automatically, like they knew the way even when my mind didn't. I passed by a woman selling flowers, pink, red, yellow. She smiled at me and said something. I didn't catch it. I just shook my head and kept walking. I passed by a couple arguing, a child crying, a man on his phone shouting in a language I didn't recognize. The street was full of stories, full of lives, full of emotions, and I was just walking through all of them. A stranger in my own city. Do you know what East Nanjing Road is famous for? It's not just shopping, it's history. It's been here for over 100 years. Back in the early 1900s, it was called the Great Shanghai Road. The richest merchants built their grand department stores here. People from all over the world came to shop and to see and to be seen. It survived wars. It survived revolutions. It survived the Cultural Revolution, when everything old was supposed to be destroyed. But the street stayed. The buildings stayed. The spirit stayed. Even now you can see the old mixed with the new. The historic department stores stand next to international brands. The old streetlights look down on modern tourists. And the electric train, that little train that carries people from one end to the other, it was built to reduce traffic and preserve the pedestrian experience. That's why people love coming here. Not just to shop, but to feel the energy of a street that has witnessed over a century of Shanghai's history, to walk where millions have walked before, to be part of something bigger than themselves. I thought about all of this as I walked, all the people who came before me, all the people who will come after me, all the stories that have unfolded on this pavement. And I thought about my own story, the story of a girl who spends sleepless nights making videos about Shanghai, walking these streets, filming, editing, rewriting scripts, sharing pieces of her soul with people she's never met. Do you know how many sleepless nights I've had? Too many to count. I lie awake thinking about my next video, my next walk, my next story. I edit until my eyes burn. I rewrite until my fingers ache. And sometimes I wonder, is anyone really watching? The numbers go up slowly, the subscribers trickle in, and I'm left wondering if I'm walking these streets for nothing. Sometimes I watch people walk past me on East Nanjing Road, tourists, couples, families, and I think, they're having the time of their lives. They're laughing, they're pointing, they're making memories, and I'm standing here filming alone, hoping that someone out there will see what I see. But then I remember why I started. Not for the numbers, not for the fame, for the joy of walking, the joy of seeing, the joy of sharing my city with anyone who cares to look, and even if only one person watches, even if only one person subscribes, that's enough, that's more than enough, because I'm not walking for them, I'm walking for me. I thought about all the content creators who walk these streets, filming, vlogging, trying to capture the magic of Shanghai. Some of them have millions of subscribers. Some of them have a few hundred. But we all share the same thing, the love of this city, the need to show it, the hope that someone will see it the way we do. And I thought about my viewers, the ones who do subscribe, the ones who do watch, the ones who leave comments that make me smile. They're the reason I keep walking. They're the reason I keep filming. They're the reason I keep sharing. If you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for walking with me. Thank you for seeing Shanghai through my eyes. Thank you for being part of this journey. I continued walking. The street was still busy, but now it felt different. Like the grey was starting to lift. Just a little. Just enough for me to notice. I passed by a street musician playing a traditional instrument. The sound was haunting and beautiful. It floated through the air like a memory. I stopped for a moment to listen, and for the first time today, I felt something. A tiny flicker of connection, a tiny spark of beauty in the grey. I smiled, just a little, and kept walking. I passed by a group of schoolchildren in matching uniforms. They were laughing and pointing at everything. Their teacher was trying to keep them in a line, but they were too excited, too full of life. I watched them and thought, that's what I used to be like, before the sleepless nights, before the loneliness, before the grey. But I didn't feel sad about it. I just felt grateful. Grateful that I got to see them. Grateful that I got to be reminded of what joy looks like. I passed by a woman selling street snacks. She looked tired, like she had been standing there for hours. Her hands moved quickly, wrapping food, handing it to customers, taking money. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. She just worked. And I thought, we're the same. Her and me. Both standing on the same street, doing what we have to do, hoping someone will notice. I looked down at my feet. They were tired, aching, but they had carried me all the way from People's Square, through the crowd, past the vendors, past the dragon, past the street musician, past the schoolchildren, past the woman selling snacks, all the way to the end of East Nanjing Road. That's not nothing. That's something. That's survival. That's showing up. That's being human. Sometimes I'm just walking, just existing, just trying to make it from People's Square to the end of East Nanjing Road. And that's okay. I looked back at the street I had just walked. The lights were starting to come on. The neon signs were flickering to life. The street was preparing for night. A different energy, a different crowd, a different Shanghai. After about 30 minutes, I finally reached the end of East Nanjing Road, and there it was, the Bund, just across the street. But I didn't cross. I stopped. I looked, and I let my journey end there. Because sometimes reaching the destination is enough. You don't always have to cross over. You don't always have to see the other side. Sometimes just arriving is the victory. I stood at the edge of East Nanjing Road, looking at the Bund across the street, the old buildings, the river beyond them, the skyline in the distance. I didn't cross. I just stood there, breathing, feeling. I thought about all the people who have stood where I'm standing. Tourists, lovers, dreamers, lonely souls like me. All of them looking at the same street, all of them feeling their own things. And somehow that made me feel less alone, because even when I feel empty, I'm connected to everyone who has ever walked this street and felt something, even if I don't know what that something is. I didn't feel better when I reached the end. Not really, but I felt less heavy, less stuck. Like the walking had loosened something inside me. Like the movement had reminded me that I'm still here, still alive, still able to walk through my city even on the days when I don't feel like it. I'll come back here. When I'm ready, when I'm happy, when I want to show my viewers the beautiful view, the old buildings, the river, the skyline. That video will be bright, full of colour, full of energy. But today I didn't want to show you the pretty view. I wanted to show you the real one, the grey one, the one where a girl walks through the busiest street in Shanghai and feels completely alone. Because that's real too. That's honest. That's human. And I think that's what makes Coco's crush different. I'm not always happy. I'm not always confident. I'm not always crushing it. But I wouldn't see that tonight. Tonight I would go home, rest, reflect, and maybe sleep. Maybe. I turned away from the Bund and started walking toward the subway. My walk was over. My journey was done. But I knew I would be back. Not tomorrow. Maybe not next week. But soon. Because this street, East Nanjing Road, it's part of me now. Part of my story. Part of Coco's crush. Thank you for walking with me today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing the real Shanghai. The grey Shanghai. The lonely Shanghai. And if this video made you feel something, even just a little, please show your support. Like it. Share it with someone who needs to see this side of Shanghai. And subscribe. Subscribe to Coco's crush. Because there are more walks to come, more streets to explore, more tired feet, more beautiful moments, more sleepless nights. Thank you for walking with me today. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like these 2 walks I've taken recently. Jing'an Temple in the rain, a peaceful, rainy walk around one of Shanghai's most beautiful temples, and Yuyuan Road, Shanghai's timeless street, a 5-kilometre walk through one of the oldest streets in Shanghai with narrow lanes and electric buses. Go ahead. Click one of them. I'll see you there. This is Coco's crush. Don't just walk. Crush it.